Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So we've had a full month of regionals in BT5. We've really gotten to see what decks are just absolute dominating and making top cut event after event. And so I figured we'd finally just kind of throw them all together and just see what decks are truly dominating. I'm going to go back to my original tier list prediction and just kind of move around and see what changes actually happened. Also, our memory markers for this month are going to be Digimon, so definitely stay tuned. Currently, I'm pre-recording all of these videos for the next week because we'll be in Colorado for NDK, so if you're there, definitely say hi if you see me. So we haven't got a prototype out just yet, but these are what we're going to be based on, and I think they're going to be super awesome. Digimon is a super popular Digimon. Gilmon, for sure, is a classic, one of the all-time favorites. Okay, so right here was what my original tier list prediction was. Some of these were pretty spot on. Some of them, particularly one of them, was way off base. But I think overall, still super solid. So I just want to go through like the top 5. What's really absolutely dominating, making top cut consistently time after time. And it's going to be no surprise that the first one is still LordKnightmon. While, yes, it has fallen down, originally it was believed to be in like a 0 tier, like nothing could beat it. And I would say it's still getting a crazy amount of tops, a crazy amount of plays, but it's not winning these events. Honestly, other decks are winning the events. Now, we are about half of the top cut is LordKnightmon, maybe a little bit less, but it's still like got a significant representation. It's got so much power to it. LordKnightmon itself can just hard play all these things. So you can hard play a level 5, which in itself, just hard playing a level 5 is huge. Yes, it's only Knightmon, which is minus 4,000, but if you combine that minus 4,000 with a swing and something like a Pikmon or a Salamon or a Gatomon, any of those that, or a Koromon that minus 1,000, you can kill these 5k blockers and just swing right through, and they can't get in your way. So you're getting good removal with it, as well as you get that second level 5 on field is just huge because you can immediately go back into another mega. It doesn't matter which version of LordKnightmon you're playing, getting a second level 5 to go into whatever your secondary mega is, whether that be Slash, Mastay, War Greymon, it doesn't matter which version you're playing. It just sets up for great plays, as well as just all the rookies that you can play is just absurd. Getting Bushi out for more swings, you can go super aggro, tempo heavy, and kind of just do what some of the other decks on this list are doing in its own way. So you can get a whole bunch of attacks in just by summoning these really, really fast, lots of swings kind of play style. And if you don't want to go the aggro route, you can go the more control-heavy route and like with lots of removals such as Slash and Valder Arm and things like that. So you're just clearing your opponent's field and then casually going and clearing their security, which is a little more yellow, what normally yellow likes to do anyway. They like to get some good board control and then just kind of slowly start whittling away the opponent's security. Just whichever playstyle you like, it's kind of nice that it's very uniform. So definitely probably the number 1 most represented deck, but not like the end-all be-all by any means, okay? It has a lot of weaknesses, and that's what a lot of other decks that are winning these events are exploiting. The second most represented deck is definitely Rookie Rush. So I was way off on this one. I just hadn't seen what it could do. I hadn't seen anyone play it and have any success with it. Every time I've seen it played, it was getting run over pretty bad. So I had it pretty low in B tier, which was completely like way off. It is up here. It is getting second place in regionals. I don't think I've seen it win a regionals yet, but it's probably the second most represented deck in top cut. Out of all top 16 players, it's either LordKnight or Rookie Rush that has probably the most representation. And that's just because it has so much, I don't know, all the cards that it has now is so much better than what old blue-green had. You're still seeing the same green cards get played. You've got your two 5K DP Digimon with whichever green option you want to go with. Flower Cannon, most people are running Needle Spray these days, and then that's going to be your green package. So it doesn't matter if you're playing blue or yellow, your green package is probably going to stay the same. But the blue package is just so much more powerful, or the yellow package is so much more powerful than the blue. Blue had stuff like Gabumon to give you a little bit of extra draw. Yellow has Pulsemon. Pulsemon gets you that extra draw, as well as can potentially get you a memory back. So imagine Gabumon at a 2 cost. That's pretty good. As well as other things like Yellow has Lopmon, which Lopmon can essentially get you 2 cards to hand for that on-play effect. So that's really good as well. So Yellow or Blue also had stuff like Vmon with jamming. That's still a powerful card, but besides that, it really started to fall off on what it had available. You had some decent level 4s, such as, the Lobomon and the XVmon, but I mean, aside from that, just the rookies themselves weren't really giving you a whole lot of advantage. But going back to Yellow here, so we've already gone Pulsemon, Lopmon, both outrageous, Starmons. So the nice thing about Rookie Rush is you can go really wide for super cheap, and then just drop a Starmons to just kill something on your opponent's side of the field. Like the 5K blockers that I was talking about a minute ago with LordKnightmon. Getting 5 rookies on field and then dropping a Starmons to just kill the blocker off is a completely viable strategy. It also has things such as Spiral Masquerade, which minus 3,000 per Digimon you have on field. And when you're a deck that just goes super wide, getting Spiral Masquerade to just pump up some crazy DP reduction numbers is rather easy. Getting 4 rookies on field is pretty easy to do, I would say. You don't really have to worry about too much with that. You can do that in like 2 turns and then pass turn with a Spiral Masquerade relatively easy, and that's minus 12k right there. So that's killing pretty much all megas. LordKnightmon, well, depending on how many on's on field, but things like LordKnightmon, just all these other megas in the meta. So great control, which is crazy to think that Rookie Rush has control elements, as well as just has really nice, aggro potential there. Those 5Ks are kind of a nuisance to kill, take off field. So yeah. Yellow-Green Rookie Rush, that second most played deck for sure. All right, next up we've got Security Control. There's not really much else to say. This wasn't really a surprise. This deck is just really good. It's just really, really strong. There's not much that can really counter it. There's like a few niche cards that can kind of help. You've got stuff like Mastamon, which is a decent counter, but it's not like a full counter. You just Digivolve, you get to trash 1 security. It's not like you're getting a whole bunch of checks there. You do have stuff like the Kabuterimon, the Mega Kabuterimon, that can trash a security without checking it. And then you have stuff like OG Gallantmon, OG Red Gallantmon that could just trash, which is a really nice counter to Security Control. It's just not very good anywhere else. So yeah, not really something you want to rely on or probably play in like a big event, just because you might have one good matchup, but against everything else, you're definitely going to struggle. So Security Control is just all around good. It's just very efficient in what it does, and it gets tops. Consistently, it gets tops just because of how good it is. It's hard to kill someone when all they do is just recover security, and every time you swing into security, you just kill yourself. So it has a really good matchup against pretty much almost every deck, even against stuff like jamming, because it has so many options that are going to be sitting in security that jamming is not going to do you any good because just the options themselves are going to kill you. So again, it's going to keep dominating for probably the foreseeable future. It's definitely a deck worth investing in if you haven't already, just because it's not probably going to go away anytime soon. It's not like completely just dominating the meta, so you probably won't see a hit to it at all on any kind of ban list or anything like that. That Bandai doesn't seem like they're really going to go gung-ho heavy on banning cards, because we haven't seen it at all, especially with like Yellow that's been dominating since 1.5, and they're very limited on wanting to touch cards, just because there's so many different ways. And as we saw, just because LordKnightmon gets played a whole bunch, it's not winning these events. Other decks are winning them. So Security Control probably got some good longevity and probably a good investment if you just want to play a deck that's really powerful for a really long time. All right, next up, we've got Imperialdramon. So I originally had it down here in A tier, and I think that was mostly just because looking at it as in a vacuum, it's still okay. It's not like crazy. Sure, it's got the new Omnimon that allow it for an extra hit, so you can actually check 4 security or 4 swings. So one of those swings could be for game very easily with this deck. And what I wasn't considering when originally looking at this deck was what it was going to be playing against. And I think that's the biggest thing, is what it's playing against is stuff like LordKnightmon. So, like I said, the 2 most represented decks are LordKnightmon as well as Rookie Rush. And it's stuff like Imperialdramon just kind of runs through those decks because they like to hurt themselves. So you have stuff like Blinding Ray that already trashes the security for you. So when they start doing stuff like that, that's really helpful. War Greymon, if they're playing the yellow War Greymon, that's trashing security. So even easier for Imperialdramon just to completely blow through opponents. So that's definitely up here. We've seen it take events. Dan Bang is very consistent about topping regional just time after time with his Imperialdramon. It's just really good. It's really fast, and I think that's one of the most beneficial things you can have. If you're playing against something like a Lilith, Loop is really slow, and it takes a long time to build up. So if you can just like blow past before they can build up, you're good. Same with like a LordKnightmon. It's not like crazy build up, but it could, depending on their draws, take a little bit, a couple extra turns than something like an Imperialdramon that can just swing for game like turn 3. So really liking how Imperialdramon is matching up in the meta, just because it has such a strong standing with against these decks in particular. It struggles up against security control, of course, but that's really it. And security control is limited, I would say, in how many play it. It does consistently get tops, but I don't see a whole lot of it actually being played. Some of the cards are a little bit more expensive, so maybe that's a shy away from it. You know, you need 4 defeats, and that can get pretty expensive. You don't have to run those, but you know, most of them that are topping are all running defeat. But it's still getting the tops either way. So Imperialdramon, surprise coming in here, just event after event, getting top 16. You know, a couple of them. I would say it's still probably less than these guys that are getting tops, but it is still one of the most like hyped up decks for sure. All right, next up, we've got Green OTK here on the list. And honestly, this is kind of a little bit of a flex spot. I would say Green definitely is the last deck on this top 5. We see Green still getting tops. We see Green OTK as well as like a Green control aspect, running, kind of just taking in the Rafflesiamon. But I say Green OTK probably still the best. You have stuff like Nidhoggmon. Like, your opponent puts you to 1 memory, and all you have is a level 4 in raising area. You can go into a Nidhoggmon with that. So you just promote that level 4 up, suspend it to go into your level 5 of Digisorption, and then boom, Nidhogg on top of that to clear your opponent's whole field. Yeah, Nidhogg is a good card. Even the Imperialdramon here, for their other Mega, they keep teching in Nidhoggmon for some control aspect, just in case you can't get into whatever it is, and you just need to shut your opponent down, set them back a few turns. Just going into a Nidhoggmon on top of a Dino Beamon just to clear the field. So I think Nidhoggmon is just making decks that can play it just a little bit better than maybe they would be normally. So Green OTK might struggle a little bit, but when you have stuff like, you know, Nidhoggmon to kind of back it up to support it, it definitely makes it way more viable. So we're seeing Green still topping consistently. Again, probably about the same representation as Imperialdramon in top cut. You know, it might be, you know, 2 to 3 greens that we're seeing, and these are really the top 5 that really make up just regional after regional is going to be these guys here. So Hercules, unfortunately, we just haven't seen anyone do anything with Hercules. I'm not even sure if anyone's even playing it. That might be part of the reason we haven't seen it. It's just because no one's really playing it. So I haven't actually seen it lose, but it's hard to lose if you're not actually getting played. Shoutmon, I also had an S tier. I think it's got the most power of the red decks. We do see a lot of Greymon, like tribal decks being played, but again, they're not really topping. They're getting played heavily, but not really topping these events. Same with Shoutmon. You know, we're not seeing the top. I think it's got the best OTK power, but Greymon has just the most consistency. You have stuff like Nokia, as well as their multiple Agumons that are giving you searches. You know, playing rookies for free with Nokia, reducing all of your Evo costs with Nokia. Greymon's probably definitely the most consistent, while Shoutmon has the highest chance of being like a good OTK. But either way, neither deck is really making top 16 at all. But we've had a few surprises. So next is going to be kind of like an honorable mention, because we haven't consistently seen these decks get topped, but wow. If you've already seen the video from earlier this week, we talked about the two surprise topping decks. The first one was Hexablaumon. So Hexablaumon just got first. It was the only one that we saw in Top Cut. For the most part here recently, we see it teched into stuff like Imperialdramon on the side, but a Hexablaumon getting first, just completely surprising a ton of people. It is a good card. If you've seen my deck profile where I go over it, you can just control your whole opponent's field. And if they don't have any kind of removal, which looking at a lot of these decks, besides stuff like Spiral Masquerade, and if they're not playing the Slash build here with their LordKnightmon, clearing this guy is hard. It is very difficult. Even Imperialdramon here doesn't have a whole lot of tools besides like Nidhogg, if it's left open for a Nidhogg to clear off the field. You know, it's got great staying power for sure. And just turning off your whole opponent's field, turning off all their blockers. I actually lost to it in the regional just because I had a whole field of blockers, but all my Digivolution sources were gone, so I couldn't block anything. If I could have blocked, I probably would have won the match, no problem. If they had been playing any other build, like a normal Imperialdramon build, I probably would have won it, no problem. But Hexablaumon just completely shut me down. So very, very powerful, has some great potential, but I will say we've only seen it do one time. It might be a one-trick pony, it might be a fluke. You know, getting top cut is already difficult. You get those final 3 rounds, you're playing people that have done nothing but win all day long. So to go undefeated is still just incredibly powerful. I mean, 8-9 rounds of these tournaments, you know, you didn't drop a single game. I mean, that should say something plenty. I mean, that could be the pilot. The pilot could just be incredibly good at this game. You know, that it could be a myriad of different things. So until we see more of it, I'm going to keep it in honorable mentions, but clearly if it blew out all these other decks, there's something here. There's definitely something here. And that's the same thing that's going to go into our next deck that I want to talk about. And this is the worst part. I didn't even put it on the list. It's still down here in the undecided zone, just because I was like, I mean, it's like a tech option that you can maybe throw into another black deck. No. This is our other S tier deck we want to mention, just because I've said it in all of my black deck profiles. If you follow the channel and you've seen any kind of black deck profile I do, black has some of the best inheritables in this entire game. Just giving jamming to anything that it wants with like reboot and things like that. Giving reboot from your rookie, from Toy Agumon. So if you ever swing with your Digimon to security and you don't want to get swung back over, you know, it goes reboot. And so now they have to play some sort of option card or some sort of removal effect to clear it off field. They can't just swing over it with something bigger. So, you know, tons of effects like this, getting jamming, you know, from stuff like Greymon. So many powerful inheritables, and there's more. We're going to go over in depth this, so if you haven't already seen it, it's in my video from earlier this week where we kind of go in depth and take a look at this deck, and it's incredible. The Metal Garurumon here in itself is really good. Being able to Digiburst and clear a blocker if you need to, or Digiburst and clear just whatever is on the field, whatever rookie or level 4, if they just left it open, you know, you can just remove it. And if there isn't a target, you just get a free security check. So this also not only has a good matchup against something like Rookie Rush, just being able to clear rookies off super easily, as well as security control. Security control usually doesn't play anything killable. Besides a Magna Angemon, everything else is too big for Metal Garurumon to be able to clear with its Digiburst. So you can Digiburst twice and just clear 2 security for free against security control is massive. That is a massive thing to be able to do. Just clear 2 security that doesn't actually check them. So great matchup in the current format for sure. You're being able to just take out 2 of the most prominent decks while still just being good against every deck that there is. It's a great card. Surprised that, you know, even when it came out, I talked about it briefly, and I was just like, this card feels amazing. All these black cards feel amazing. How does black never seem to top? And then boom, someone finally proved that they could do it, and I am super ecstatic that they did it with such an underrated, you know, just under the radar deck, and that's so awesome. So definitely some great honorable mentions here. We did also see a Digimon make top cut in one of the regionals over the past weekend, so that's pretty great. Honestly, super surprised. This deck is going to get incredible when it comes to the Classic Collection. The support in the Classic Collection for Digimon is amazing. If you saw my deck profile in our match where we played this, you know, it's got a lot of power and a lot of potential. It can be kind of bricky, though, so if you know, maybe they found a way to play around it. I haven't actually got to see a deck profile or the person that piloted it talk about it. So, you know, interested to see how it went, how their event went, and what really kind of shined for them. So that's pretty neat that Digimon topped just kind of out of nowhere. Again, out of nowhere. You don't have stuff like OG Omnimon anymore, and I always talked about that. If OG Omnimon ever fell out of the meta, I felt like Digimon could instantly just step up and be like, all right, I'm here. Here's my, you know, 6 tokens I've got on field already with Rush, just ready to run you over. So, yeah, so Digimon getting a top is pretty awesome. I want to mention Lilith Loop. I've only seen it in, I think, one regional over the past month that it actually made top cut. I haven't seen it win hardly at all, which is a real shame. And it's hugely represented. It has a massive, like, overall, out of the total entries, Lilith Loop has a lot of entries. It just does not make it to top cut almost ever at all. So with that many pilots and it still can't make top cut, you know, that's a bit unfortunate for sure. It's a cool deck, you know, lots of popularity behind it. Just we haven't really seen it have the consistency. It's got the crazy power. If you ever seen this deck pop off, it is a nightmare. You know, like you'll probably lose. If it ever pops off, you'll probably lose. But it just doesn't consistently pop off every game, and that's why it's not going to make top cut consistently enough, just because it's a little too random just in what it can do. It's a little too slow in getting to that point, and a lot of these decks are just way too fast. They're clearing, you know, LordKnightmon, Rookie Rush, and Imperialdramon. I mean, even Green OTK are going to clear your security before you can really get that 10 cards in trash and go just go full combo on them. So that's what's holding Lilithmon back, unfortunately. So there's our top 5 and our honorable mentions here. Definitely some crazy good stuff. I'm not going to touch on the rest of these guys. We just haven't seen them perform at all. So definitely going to keep them down here. These are the decks that are making it. They're the ones winning events, making top 16. These are the decks getting invites to nationals. So that's really awesome. But that doesn't mean these are the only decks to play. Clearly, these guys here are decks that just kind of flew in under the radar and made top cut. So if you can just come up with something original that counters the meta, just think about what decks you're going to be playing a lot of, and just if you can consistently beat those decks with your own creation, do that, because that's like the best thing about a card game. It's just when you can just be original and just dominate with your original deck that no one else is playing. That is like my favorite thing about card games. So definitely inspires me to want to do the same thing. Just kind of come up with my own unique, flavorful deck and see how it does against the big top dogs of these regionals. And hopefully we can score ourselves a nat invite like these guys do. So that's going to do it for the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully it wasn't too long, and hopefully I explained things well enough and broke it down good for all of you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would, please like the video and subscribe. Just a little bit of help goes a super long ways. It helps the channel out tremendously, gets my videos out there, gets them seen. And if you really, really want to support the channel, check out the links in the description below. I'll have a link for my Patreon, which is displayed right here. You can get access to my Discord server that I have, as well as you can get the memory markers that we've had. These are just a few of my favorites from the past that we've had. The current one, Impmon's baby, as well as Gabumon's. baby as well, Sunomon and Yamon. These guys are super adorable. I definitely love them so much. And every month a new one changes out, so make sure you check that out. As well as we have our new playmats. This is why I recreated this video. It's because our playmats are here finally, and they are super cool. I alternate between the black and white every single month for whoever wants to support this tier, as well as I have a tier just higher than that, so that way you don't also have to lose out on a memory marker. You can get both the memory marker and the playmat just in case you want both. Super awesome support from everyone that has supported in the past and who will support in the future. You guys are awesome. Also, if you want to check out my merch, my Teespring link is in the description below for that. We've got, you know, the shirts that I wear on the channel that has the logo across. I love when I see people representing my merch in public. It is like one of the coolest feelings I've ever had in my entire life. Very, very awesome. As well as phone cases for you people that love Digimon like so much like I do. A friend of mine custom made all these to fit these specific phone cases themselves, so the prices are a little bit higher just because I have to pay her back, as well as make a little tiny bit of profit because of how much unfortunately they take for their cut for Teespring. But like I said, if you can't do any of that, please just like the video and subscribe to the channel. Every time we hit a new mile marker for subscriptions, I give out free merch of all different types. 2000K, I think we're doing one of the playmat giveaways, so definitely be subscribed and ready for when that comes.